So good morning. We have discussed in the last lecture what is reciprocating masses balancing and why we will go for only partial balancing of reciprocating parts, and at the end we have also discussed balancing of both reciprocating and revolving masses by means of a single revolving mass. And today's lecture we will see what is locomotives and how the locomotives are coupled and how they are classified, and what is the effect of partial balancing of reciprocating parts in twin cylinder locomotives. So this we will discuss the analysis part today, and in the next lecture we will see the problems on this twin cylinder locomotive. Recall why we don't go for complete balancing of reciprocating parts, which we discussed in the last lecture. So actually the unbalance is produced due to the reciprocating parts, but it is assumed like a revolving mass which is available at a radius of r, and its horizontal component is mr omega square cos theta, and it is going to be balanced by introducing another revolving mass exactly opposite to that with an angle of theta, which is a mirror image of original one, and that is balanced completely. Then it is inducing an unnecessary component instead of unbalance available in horizontal direction. It has been converted unbalance in the vertical direction, same magnitude of mr omega square. So it will not serve any of our purpose, isn't it? This is something like this. In society generally you will find, suppose if you are shortage of money, so or if you are not having money, so you need money for your day-to-day life requirements. Then how to get it? One is earning, okay, and another one is borrowing. Suppose if you earn, your problem will be solved. Instead of earning, you have borrowed for some X and you fulfilled your activity. So from whom you have borrowed, that gentleman came and asked to pay back. Then what you will do? You are not earned, you are not going to earn, you will go for a Y person and you will get the money and you will hand over that money from Y person to the X person. But what happened? You are still not in a position to earn and you are not having any money. You have borrowed it, you have to repay back to Y certain time afterwards. Suppose after a few days Y asked, then you move to Z and you have given to the money to Y, but the process is continuously moving. There is no purpose has been served. The activity has been served for that instant. It is not a permanent solution. Then what is the permanent solution? If you earn the money, then if you spend the money, then there is no borrowing problem and no repaying problem. So similar here, if I try to balance completely, then my unbalance is balanced in one plane, but the same magnitude is reflected in the other plane. So that is not advisable. That is why. So balancing is done always partially of the reciprocating masses, not fully. We can balance only revolving masses completely unbalanced, and reciprocating masses can be balanced only partially. But because of this partial balancing of reciprocating masses in a multi-cylinder engines, especially like you can see in a twin cylinder locomotives, certain effects are produced. What are those effects? So before I go for those effects, I will first go for the classification of locomotives. So our main topic is partial balancing of locomotives. First I will explain locomotives classification. locomotives classification. So they are classified like inside cylinder engine, and outside cylinder engine. Inside cylinder engine and outside cylinder engine. So how we can classify them is like inside cylinder, the cylinders are placed in between the wheels. Say there is, we said it is a twin cylinder engine, two cylinders are there, okay. So inside cylinder, that means this is wheel 1, and this is wheel 2. So in between these two wheels, the cylinders are placed like cylinder 1 and cylinder 2. Cylinder 1 and cylinder 2. They are placed in between the wheels. That is what it is called inside cylinder. So this cylinder is nothing but represents crank 1 and crank 2. Because cylinder is ultimately giving the power is obtained by means of cranks. So crank 1 and crank 2. You can distinguish here, I have shown them, they are not both are parallel, they are perpendicular. That means if one is kept at 0 degrees and another one is kept at 90 degrees. So for the purpose of balancing, to make it balancing system, we make it one is 0 degrees and another one is a 90 degrees. The angle between these two cranks are said to be 0 and 90. And what about outside cylinder engine? In outside cylinder engine, the cylinders are kept outside the wheels. The cylinders are kept outside the wheels. This is wheel 1 and this is wheel 2. And we will be placing the cylinders outside. This is cylinder 1. This is cylinder 2. This is one type of classification, that is keeping the cylinders either inside or outside, which is called inside cylinder engine and outside cylinder engine. There is one more classification is there, that is coupled loco and uncoupled loco. Coupled loco, uncoupled loco. Coupled and uncoupled loco. So you can see there are number of wheels are there, okay. Those wheels are independently driven or they are not connected anything, okay, then that is called uncoupled loco. So there are number of wheels are there. So those wheels are doesn't have any connection, similar to like take a simple case of a bus, a four-wheeler or a car where there are four wheels are there and the power is given only one pair of the wheels. There may be rear wheels or front wheels. Majority of the cases we will see the engines where the power is given for the rear wheels. And the rear wheels pushes the front wheels, rear wheels pushes the front wheels, and there is no connection between the front wheels and rear wheels. So they are uncoupled. They are uncoupled. So whereas in coupled loco, the front wheels and rear wheels are the number of wheels which are there in the part of the engine, they are coupled by means of coupling rods. By means of coupling rods. So in case of the coupled loco, we will have, in addition to these wheels and cylinders, two more components that they come, they are called coupling rods. They are called coupling rods. So the coupling rod is also reciprocating or revolving along with the wheel. So that is also an unbalanced force. So in case of a coupled locos, we will have 6 planes, that is wheel 1, cylinder 2, wheel 2, and there is one more plane here and one more plane here. They couples, they connects the rear wheels. And whereas an uncoupled loco, you don't have a separate connection between the number of wheels. They have independent, they will just push or they will be pulled or whatever it may be by means of independent wheels, where the power is given to a set of wheels. So in that case, you will have only 4 planes, not 6 planes. So in coupled locos, we get 6 planes, and in uncoupled locos, we get 4 planes. That is the one of the major difference between coupled and uncoupled locos when you are going to balance it. 6 planes in case of coupled, in addition to the coupling rods of 2, and in uncoupled loco there are only 4 planes that you get into the picture. Okay, so now we will see what is the effect of partial balancing of reciprocating masses in case of twin cylinder engine. There are 3 effects that you found. There are 3 effects called as, one is variation of tractive force, and second one is swaying couple, third one is hammer blow. Because of partial balancing of twin cylinder engines, that is locos, we get 3 effects called as variation of tractive force, swaying couple, and hammer blow. These topics are very, very important for the examination point of view, and whereas the objective questions are concerned in the quiz and other things, they are very, very important. Okay, so we'll see what are the 3 phenomena called variation of tractive force, swaying couple, and hammer blow. So the first one is variation of tractive force. So unbalanced force along the line of stroke in cylinder 1 is 1 minus C mr omega square cos theta. This is already we have derived what is the unbalanced force along the line of stroke, okay, for a single cylinder engine due to the reciprocating masses. And what is the unbalanced force along the line of stroke in cylinder 2? Just now we discussed the cylinder 1 and cylinder 2 are placed with their cranks with a phase angle of 90 degrees. So that is 1 minus C mr omega square cos theta plus 90. Cos theta plus 90, isn't it? Because one is at theta angle, the another one is with a 90 degrees phase angle, so theta plus 90, which we get minus sin theta, that is minus of 1 minus C mr omega square sin theta. So sin cos 90 plus theta, cos theta plus 90 or cos 90 plus theta is minus sin theta, so it is minus 1 minus C mr omega square sin theta. Then what is the resultant unbalanced force due to cylinder 1 and cylinder 2 along line of stroke. So what is the net unbalanced force along the cylinder 1 and cylinder 2? They are nothing but addition of these two. So one is 1 minus C mr omega square cos theta, and another one is minus of 1 minus C mr omega square sin theta. So you can take common 1 minus C mr omega square as common, then it will be cos theta minus sin theta. 1 minus C into mr omega square into cos theta minus sin theta. C is fixed value because how much percentage you are going to be balanced, it is already known to you. M is the unbalanced mass, which is also a fixed value. R is the radius of the crank, it is a fixed value. For a given speed, omega is fixed value. Then what is the variable? Theta is the variable, isn't it? Then this unbalanced force may be maximum or minimum unbalanced force, maximum or minimum will take place when d by d theta of cos theta minus sin theta is equal to 0. So d by d theta of cos theta minus sin theta is equal to 0. Then the corresponding theta value, you will have unbalanced force either maximum or minimum. So what is d by d theta of cos theta minus sin theta? That is cos theta is minus sin theta, and sin theta is cos theta is already minus is there, then it is minus cos theta is equal to 0. Or you can write sin theta is equal to minus cos theta. So this is sin theta is equal to minus cos theta, minus sin theta minus cos theta is 0. Then you can write tan theta is equal to, so minus sin theta d by d theta of cos theta minus sin theta, that is minus sin theta minus cos theta is 0, sin theta minus cos theta. Okay, then this will be minus 1. Tan theta is equal to minus 1. When tan theta is minus 1, theta is equal to either 135 degrees or 315 degrees. So you know that theta, tan theta is negative in the second and fourth quadrants. Tan theta is minus 1 is possible. Theta is equal to either 135 or 315 degrees. So maximum or minimum when you substitute this value, that is in this equation, plus or minus 1 minus C mr omega square cos 135 minus sin 135. So cos 135 and sin 135. So that is what is cos 135? That is 1 by root 2. Sin 135 is 1 by root 2. So that is one is negative, another one is a positive. Then it is plus or minus 1 minus C mr omega square. This is cos 135 minus 1 by root 2, and this is plus 1 by root 2 minus 1 by root 2. So this will be 2 by root 2, that is 2 by root 2, root 2 get cancelled, plus or minus root 2 1 minus C mr omega square, isn't it? So here you can see sin theta is equal to minus cos theta, or you can simply write sin theta by cos theta is minus 1. I think you understood, that's why I have skipped that line. Sin theta by cos theta is minus 1. What is sin theta by cos theta? which is tan theta. So theta, tan theta is -1, theta is second quadrant and fourth quadrant is negative tan, that is either 135 or 315. By substituting this theta value 135, okay, once you substitute 135, you get one positive value, and once you substitute 315, you get the negative value. So then you can see, I can write simply plus or minus root 2 into 1 minus c into mr omega square is the unbalanced force due to both the cylinders 1 and 2 along the line of stroke, which is called variation of tractive force. So variation of tractive force is nothing but defined, it is the difference of the unbalanced force, it is the sum of the unbalanced force or the resultant of the unbalanced force along the line of stroke due to cylinder 1 and cylinder 2. So cylinder 1 is crank theta and cylinder 2 is theta plus 90. So I have written, then I have estimated the condition for maximum or minimum, that is writing the equation d by d theta of cos theta minus sin theta, because these are all constants or fixed values c, m, r, omega for given set of data. Only variable is theta, then d by d theta of cos theta minus sin theta is 0. When I equate it to this differential part, give you theta part like -1, that is theta is 135 and 315, then I get final equation plus or minus root 2 into 1 minus c into mr omega square. So the second one is a swaying couple. We have seen just now there is an unbalance in the cylinder 1 and unbalance in the cylinder 2, that is like one unbalance is 1 minus c mr omega square into cos theta, okay, and there is another unbalance is also there, which is with a phase difference of cos 90 plus theta, and these two cylinders are placed with a center distance gap of a, that means this is a by 2, a by 2. Okay, so let us take, there are two cylinders where there is an unbalanced force in the line of stroke. Cylinder 1 is 1 minus c mr omega square cos theta, and in cylinder 2, which is mr omega square into 1 minus c into cos 90 plus theta, cylinder 1 and cylinder 2. So you can see these forces are placed at different locations, and they are placed at a distance of a, then there will be a couple which will produce. So a is nothing but distance between center lines of cylinder 1 and cylinder 2, okay, between the cylinder 1 and cylinder 2 center lines. Then swaying couple is swaying couple. Take the moments from y axis. So one force into distance is 1 minus c mr omega square cos theta into a by 2. So moments are taken along y axis. So which causes anti-clockwise moment. Let me take anti-clockwise as a positive. Then this causes clockwise moment, which is a negative 1 minus c mr omega square cos 90 plus theta. So this gives into a by 2. This gives 1 minus c mr omega square cos theta into a by 2. So this is cos 90 plus theta minus sin theta, minus or minus plus, this will be 1 minus c mr omega square sin 90 plus sine theta into a by 2. So you can take common here 1 minus c mr omega square into a by 2, then it gives cos theta plus sin theta. So maxima or minimum swaying couple occurs when d by d theta of cos theta plus sin theta is equated to 0. So differentiate cos theta plus sin theta and equate to 0, that is minus sin theta, okay, plus cos theta is equal to 0. So minus sin theta is equal to minus cos theta, or sin theta by cos theta is 1. Sin theta by minus sin theta by minus cos theta is 1, which is tan theta is equal to 1. So when the tan theta will become 1, theta is either 45 degrees or, so another one is 225 degrees. So we know tan values are positive in first quadrant and third quadrant, all silver teacups. First quadrant theta 45 and third quadrant is 225, isn't it? Then we can write maximum swaying couple is by substituting this 45 degrees to there, like what is the resultant? 1 minus c mr omega square a by 2 cos 45 plus sin 45. So cos 45 is 1 by root 2, sin 45 also 1 by root 2, then it will be 1 minus c mr omega square a by 2 into 1 by root 2 plus 1 by root 2, that is 2 by root 2, that is 1 minus c mr omega square a by 2 into 2 by root 2. So this becomes 1 by root 2 1 minus c mr omega square. So a by root 2 1 minus c into mr omega square is known as a swaying couple. So what we did here, we did simple thing. In one cylinder unbalanced force along the line of stroke and another cylinder with a phase angle of 90, then we have taken the moments along the y axis and we have written what is the swaying couple equation. So like in a similar previous discussion, c is a constant, m is a given set of data constant, r is also given engine constant. For a given velocity omega, it is a function of theta. So when it will become maximum or minimum, when this d by d theta of cos theta plus sin theta is 0. So for that, for the maximum value, theta is equal to 45 degrees or 225 degrees, you will get the maximum. Then substituting 45 or 225, you get this value like 1 minus c mr omega square a by 2 into 1 by root 2 plus 1 by root 2. By simplification, you will get that is a by root 2 into 1 minus c into mr omega square. So the last part in this is hammer blow. Hammer blow. We have seen two cases. One is called variation of tractive force and another one is a swaying couple, which are due to unbalanced force along the line of stroke. So actually in our engine, we don't have an unbalanced force in vertical direction, but because of partial balancing, we got some amount of unbalance in vertical direction. What is the unbalanced force in vertical direction? unbalanced force in vertical direction which develop is b omega square b sin theta. So recall the first part what we have discussed. B omega square b cos theta is unbalanced along the line of stroke, and b omega square b sin theta is unbalanced in the vertical direction. And when this may become maximum, this become maximum. So this become maximum when sin theta is equal to 1. Okay, or it becomes minimum, or in the vice versa when it is a -1. Of course, for force is concerned, so the magnitude is taken into the consideration, whether it is a positive force or negative force. The force is a force, either positive value or negative value, that force is going to happen the system. One is like compression, another one is a tension, both are same. So sin theta is equal to 1. When the sin theta will become 1, that is theta is equal to either 90 degrees or 270 degrees. And when this is, what is the value of maximum? Maximum unbalanced force in vertical direction is b omega square b. B omega square b. Okay, and see, the wheels will produce some pressure on the rails. Wheels develops pressure on rails, an amount of P. So what is wheel? Wheel is nothing but your loco wheel, like this, and this is traveling on a track. It is traveling on a track. This is called a rail and this is called wheel. So this exerts a pressure on the rail. So the wheel exerts a pressure on the rail. So this is called P. So this is always acts in the downward direction, and the unbalanced force b omega square b may become positive or may become negative. So the pressure between wheel and rail due to combined of these two. So pressure between the wheel and rail, okay, net pressure between the wheel and rail is P plus or minus b omega square b. So because as I said, this force can be either maximum plus or it can be minimum with negative. So that's why it is P plus or minus b omega square b. Suppose if it's a positive value, net force is okay, or else suppose if it is a negative value, then the wheels will be lifted from the track. So the wheels will be lifted from the track. So limiting condition. So the limiting condition is P should be greater than or equal to b omega square b. So if P is equal, then the value, even worst case, it is minus, okay, then net force is 0 or net pressure is 0. Or in the other way, if the P is less than b omega square b, if this value is negative, then the net force will become negative, which is going to causing lifting of the wheels. To avoid lifting of wheels from track, from rail or track. Okay, that is limiting condition is P is equal to b omega square b, or omega square is equal to P by bb, or omega is root over P by bb. So with this velocity, if it runs, then there is no lifting of the wheel from the rail. Otherwise, if you go beyond that, then there will be lifting of the wheel from the rail, it happens. So for this, practically is performed like wheel, there will be heavy mass is placed like V at a mass center of small v. If you recall a locomotive's wheels, you might have seen the wheel, one side there is a heavy mass is placed like this. That mass is B, which is placed at a distance of B mass center, so that this force will become B omega square B. So if you don't put the mass there, then you can see the wheel will be lifted from the rail. So that is the limiting condition. The same thing you can graphically represent, like say there is an angle 0, 90, 180, 270 like this, and there should be always an amount of pressure P, a constant pressure P. So this is added by the additional force of B omega square B sin theta, theta 90 maximum and theta 270 maximum. So like this, so 0 to 90, 90 to 180, 180 will be become minimum. This is sin 180 is 0, then 270 maximum and 360. So this is the magnitude of hammer blow. This is the magnitude of hammer blow. So of course this also will have the same. That is B omega square B. That is B omega square B. So to avoid skidding of the vehicle from the wheel from the rail, so the maximum limiting angular velocity omega is equal to root over P by B into B. Okay. So these are the three effects. Variation of tractive force, swaying couple and hammer blow are very important for the short answer questions as well as the examination point of view in the objective questions. And we'll see one problem in a coupled loco and uncoupled loco in the next class that finishes the reciprocating masses and balance. Then the left out topic is balancing of radial engines and balancing of V engines. Okay, we'll see in the further two lectures those things.